Hey, Real Estate Rockstars, welcome back. Today, I'm going to cover the most critical tool you have in your arsenal, and that's the listing conversation. And that's right, I said conversation, not presentation, because presentations don't work. Nobody wants to be presented to. So today, I'm going to share you the methodology that I use to take consistently over 100 listings a year when I was in production. So let's get started. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Guillermo Salas, former attorney turned real estate agent, and I've closed over 1,500 transactions in my career. And I want to share every tip, trick, system, and process I used in my real estate sales business, as well as other businesses right here on this YouTube channel. So please subscribe, please like and comment on my videos. And more importantly, if you're like, hey, Guillermo, I need a deeper understanding of these topics, please, in the video description is my calendar link. Sign up for a free business consultation. No problem whatsoever. Love to go deeper on it with you. Okay, the first part of this methodology that I use is being in the right mindset, right? The reality is 80 to 90% of people who sell, they only interview one person, right? So that's the hard part, getting the actual appointment to the listing conversation. So once you're there, it's yours to lose. And so we want to make sure we're in the right mindset to take advantage of this opportunity. And that's being up here at the high level, positive mindset, and not down here. And so one of the techniques and one of the practices you want to get used to is like the phone. We want to be really careful with our phone and sort of set that aside. Let's not read emails, text messages, or listen to voicemails that might otherwise bring us down in our energy level, right? Maybe get that email that says, hey, you know what, we decided to go with that other listing agent on this property. We don't want that as we're going into this conversation. Instead, what I do is I have my Amazon playlist of like happy thoughts or my hype music. And I gotta be honest, there's a lot of Prince on that one, right? But whatever it is that works for you, that gets you into that high energy sort of beast mode so that you're entering in there in the right mindset and the right positive mindset in order to have the correct listing conversation. So that's technique and practice number one. Okay, the second part of the methodology is when you actually enter a home, good greeting, and then offer to take off your shoes. Some people are sensitive about having shoes worn through the house. And so just offer it and set that tone up front. And then immediately take control of the process by saying, hey, take me to your kitchen table or to your dining room table. I want to leave my stuff there, right? We don't want to be in the living room. Trust me. When you're sitting there distracted by maybe the TV or on a couch, it's not the ideal situation. So take them, guide them over to a place where you know you're going to be able to have their full undivided attention, and leave your stuff there and then quickly transition to the next step. Okay, once I leave my stuff at the table, then it's time to take the tour. And the tour, I start the conversation like, hey, I want you to give me a tour of your home. Tell me everything you love about it, right? Everything that made you fall in love with it when you first bought it. Then I also want you, seller, to put your buyer's hat on. What are the things that you are concerned about that a buyer might object to about your house so that we can get ahead of it, right? And so that's great because you want to know what their expectations are. But I don't take a lot of notes about, what the actual features of the house are at that point. Really, my main goal during this house tour is one, build rapport and start building some presumptive closings, right? And so what I mean by rapport is, when I was selling, I was big into the Eagles, big into sports. So if I saw that they had Eagle stuff or sports stuff like that, I'm latching onto that. I'm like, oh yeah, you went to that game too, I went to that game too. And we're building because people want to work with people that they like. And then, I have lots of kids. I have 4 kids. So that was definitely a topic that I latched onto. I was a lawyer, so if they happen to be a lawyer, we'll talk about that. But we're just building rapport. I'm building rapport on things like whatever the commonality is, so that at the end, once we get to the process, again, they like me, I like them, and we're more likely to do business. The other part is presumptive closings, right? So like, oh, great. Like when we close and when we sell your house, are you going to keep this furniture, right? When we sell this house, when we go to closing, are you going to want to have this piece of furniture with you, or are you going to leave it behind? Those are presumptive closings, meaning like, hey, I'm already acting like as if I got the listing. So that's the point of the house tour, right? Then when you're done the house tour, next step is get back to the table. And when you get to the table, the way I want it is like, I don't want one on one side, one on the other. I want to be facing both at the same time so that nobody gets offended that I'm looking at them or giving one person more attention over another. That's absolutely super, super important. And again, I want to reiterate, should be at a table, free from distractions, free from TVs, not the living room. And I don't like the counter on the kitchen countertop. Like, let's get into a place where we actually can be comfortable and they can focus. Okay, next step in the process, like once we're back at the table, I've got everybody positioned the right way where I want them. Then I'm gonna set the agenda, right? I wanna control the process, and my agenda is the same every single time. So number one is, hey, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions because I need to understand your goals, your wants, and your needs in this process of what you want to accomplish. Then I'm going to explain what it looks like to work with me and my team in selling your home. Then number three, we're going to go through the comps and figure out what the right pricing strategy is for you. And then after that, if everything sort of lines up and everything feels good from your perspective, from my perspective, then we'll go into contracts and proceed from there. Make sense? And that's the piece, that's the order I do it in, because I want them to see all the value that I provide in before we get to the, hey, your contract and your commission discussion, right? Going to be way harder for them to like argue about like, hey, can I pay you 2% or 2.5% once I've had the opportunity to show how I stand out differently than everybody else. So that's the way, and that's the methodology and the order in which I suggest you do things. Now let's dig a little deeper into some of these pieces. Okay, so that's the format of the agenda. Now let's go deeper in some of the points here on the agenda. And the first one is ask questions. You can't overdose on asking questions, as I mentioned. And what the reality is, sellers typically care about three things. They care about the price, how much they're going to get. They care about how quickly it can be sold, or maybe they had some sort of experience with an agent before that maybe didn't go the way they wanted. And so they care about, the third part is like some sort of customer experience part. And our job as we're asking questions is to uncover how these rank, right? How they rank. Do they care about price more? Do they care about selling quickly more? Do they care about like the customer experience, like responsiveness, their marketing ability of the agent? Which one of those ranks higher than the other, and in which order? And you want to ask questions and not ask questions that elicit their actual goal, right? We don't want to leave it on the logical level. We want to get to the underlying emotional underpinning of why they're selling their home. So you're gonna ask questions, typical questions like why you're selling. Well, why is that important to you is an important question, right? Because at some point, they're gonna take action that's not in alignment with their goal. And if we don't know what their emotional hook point is, for instance, hey, I wanna sell this house because I'm missing out on my kids' first steps, and I'm working too many long hours, including the commute, so I need to be closer to my job. Well, when they start arguing about it in the inspection stage, like, hey, you know what, that $50 curtain, set of curtains, I'm gonna create this deal over, we need to understand what their goals were so we can remind them like, hey, your goal was to spend more time with your family, not save on $50 curtains. So that's what I mean by keeping it at the, figuring out what their emotional underhook point is, because if we don't know that, we're not going to be able to help our clients. The other thing is ask really good clarifying questions, right? Because everybody's understanding of words is different. So when they say sell quickly, you need to be asking, well, what do you mean by quickly, right? Because quickly for me could be 30 days. For them, it might be 60 days. Important to know. So asking questions, huge part of the agenda. And you spend a lot of time there for sure. The second part of the agenda that I want to sort of tease out is the process, right? Whatever process you have, you need to be able to explain it clearly and be able to say it the same way over and over and over, right? It's like the E-Myth. You deliver the same service over and over and over. And so for me, my process looked like this. Hey, I want to explain what happens at the pre-marketing stage, the marketing stage, and the contract to close stage, right? And so I'm outlining who you're working with, who you're going to hear from on my team, what you can expect every stage of the way. Because I believe one of my Guillermo-isms is that conflict only arises in the absence of clear expectations. So as I'm laying out my process, I'm sending out clear expectations, what they can expect in stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. So they are going to be happy, and they're not going to be like, hey, where am I going? I'm blind. I don't know what's going on. This Guillermo guy is not professional. No, he is. He just outlined everything that he's going to do for us. And by the way, they're going to be impressed by that, and I've laid it all out. So when we get to the conversation about commission, less likely to argue about what my commission rate should be. So be very clear about what your process is like, right? And by the way, here's an additional tip on this process piece. A lot of people want to spend time talking about what they do on the marketing side of things. If I get into that, I know the conversation's gone horribly wrong. Get into practice of sending that ahead of time, right? Send your listing presentation beforehand that shows all the beautiful stuff you do in terms of marketing, right? The reality is we don't do that much different than everybody else. I know we want to feel self-important, and maybe we have a couple tweaks here that are slightly different, but at the end of the day, it's not a real game changer what one agent does over the other, unless you're completely doing malpractice, but that's a topic for another thing. Just know that you don't want to be spending too much time on the marketing piece. You want to be showing sort of how your operational system works for them. Great? Awesome. And so the next section that I want to dig deeper into is price, right? And I did a great video on this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here on how to never lose a listing on price ever again. Go watch that. but that's a collaborative decision on how to get to the right pricing strategy. And then finally, just the transition. At that point, now that I've demonstrated, hey, I understand their goals, they understand my process, we've agreed on a pricing strategy, would it make sense for us to move forward to the next step, which is signing the contracts? And 90% of the time I got yes, right? And again, on the commission side of things, if you're showing all this value up front, you're less likely going to have our conversation about what my commission rate should be. I just go like, yeah, man, I list homes for 3.5%. That's my, on the listing side, right? New world. But on the listing side, I take 3.5%. Well, that's it. That's the outline of my listing conversation. And so thank you again for watching my video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and comment on the video. But more importantly, like there's a lot more to dig out on this process. So if you need more understanding of how to go out and have an effective listing conversation, please, my calendar link is in the video description. Schedule 30 minutes for a free business consultation, and I'm happy to help you out. Until next time, go out there and cause and create miracles. Have a great day.